Beneath the hum of everyday life, there exists a current, barely audible, yet relentless, a whispered code slipping through the cracks of history and cyberspace. These are not mere rumors, but fractured fragments of forgotten truths, swallowed by silence and erased from official records, yet stubbornly persisting in the shadowed corners of the digital world. Who breathes life into these stories, and what are they concealing beneath layers of noise and forgetfulness? Each whispered fragment fractures memory itself, weaponizing grief, an echo of something lost, something dangerous, bleeding into every tangled narrative. Somewhere between folklore and technology, in the static of obsolete forums and forgotten videos, a strange pattern emerges. Wishdom. Cryptic entries pulse with hints of vanished people, suppressed knowledge, and the eerie fusion of myth and machinery. Across Reddit, where horror and conspiracy bleed into one, these stories twist real events into cautionary legends. But are these tales the product of trauma trying to make sense of chaos, or signals designed to obscure something far darker? Layers of redactions, pulled from decades-old declassified files and FOIA documents, hide behind sudden blackouts of information. Carefully excised names and dates refuse to reveal themselves. What truths do these shadows guard? The weight of knowing presses heavy. Once these whispers pierce the veil, the mind never quite recovers, tethered forever to the ache of obsession and loss. Consider the earliest appearances of Wishdom in the deep archives of online forums long abandoned. These cryptic mentions are not just random glitches but seem connected to a timeline of disappearances, strange technological failures, and unexplained phenomena scattered across decades. Some speak of a device or knowledge so profound it could rewrite reality itself, forgotten blueprints of impossible machines, interwoven with tales of those who vanished after glimpsing forbidden knowledge. The lines blur between madness and revelation, as users recount shadowy figures who monitor discussions, deleting posts and silencing voices. The stories weave a tapestry where folklore collides with the digital age, an age when the ghosts of the past find new ways to haunt, not just through myth, but through the very architecture of information. As we dive deeper, the communities hosting these tales reveal something darker, grief tangled with paranoia, obsession clawing at the edges of sanity. On subreddits like /r/nosleep and /r/conspiracy, anonymous posters share encounters that begin as nightmares but end as warnings, cryptic messages from missing persons, coordinates leading nowhere, and the constant sensation of being watched. Some say these are collective manifestations of trauma, a psychological defense against the incomprehensible. Others whisper of a coordinated effort to muddy the waters, planting disinformation designed to bury the truth beneath layers of fiction and fear. The emotional toll on those who chase these stories is palpable, a slow erosion of hope, replaced by a gnawing dread that the answers sought are the ones best left undiscovered. This growing unease is mirrored in official documents, where entire sections have been blacked out, references to Wishdom and related terms scrubbed from government records. FOIA requests reveal a history of sudden censorship surrounding investigations into unexplained disappearances and technology malfunctions. What remains visible suggests an uncomfortable truth, that some forces, whether bureaucratic or something more sinister, move quickly to erase threads that might unravel their control. The inconsistencies and contradictions in public timelines hint at cover-ups, at stories deliberately fractured to keep the public in ignorance. The more one digs, the more one encounters walls of silence and redacted pages, each black bar a silent scream from the past. There is a profound psychological weight in pursuing these whispers. The deeper one falls, the harder it becomes to separate reality from the stories woven around it. The emotional thread that binds these chapters is grief, a grief not just for lost people, but for lost knowledge and lost certainty. Those who encounter Wishdom stories often describe a change within themselves, an obsession that seeps into dreams and waking hours alike. Memory becomes unreliable, time fractures, and the mind fixates on fragmented clues, desperate to piece together a puzzle with missing pieces. It is a haunting transformation, where the search for truth becomes a tether to a dark abyss of obsession and sorrow. Amidst this, the question remains: who or what is behind the Wishdom phenomenon? Is it a rogue collective leaking forbidden secrets, or an unknown entity manipulating narratives from the shadows? The digital landscape offers no easy answers, only a labyrinth of half-truths and dead ends. The line between myth and reality blurs until they become indistinguishable, a fever dream coded into the fabric of the internet itself. This is a place where memory is weaponized, where grief manifests as obsession, and where the desire to know threatens to consume everything in its path. As you listen, consider this. What would you risk to uncover a truth that might unravel the very world you know? Time fractures like shattered glass, each shard reflecting a different version of the same story, twisted, fractured, impossible to trust. The past, as it is told through the lens of Wishdom, is not linear. It splinters, folding in on itself like a cruel puzzle with missing pieces. Dates contradict, events overlap, and faces appear where they should not, vanishing when scrutiny turns too sharp. The threads unravel, but within the chaos, strange patterns emerge, symbols repeated like secret signatures, names resurfacing in places they have no reason to be, and dates that slip through calendars, refusing to exist in any official record. These anomalies gnaw at the mind, stirring a creeping paranoia that perhaps nothing is as it seems. History itself a fabric woven by unseen hands, stitched with lies and deliberate erasures. Leaked files deepen the mystery, revealing glaring inconsistencies buried within official timelines, disappearances that should have been recorded, but are not. Investigations begun and abruptly halted without explanation. Each document feels like a puzzle piece deliberately obscured, as if someone is rewriting the script in real time, erasing footsteps in the sand. On Twitter, anonymous researchers pore over cryptic threads, decoding symbols hidden in the chaotic flood of social media posts, coordinates linked to abandoned places, dates that align with the missing, and messages layered with a complexity that defies casual reading. These are no mere coincidences but a language built to obscure and mislead, a cipher that demands obsession to even approach understanding. Archived videos, once accessible, now scrubbed or edited, offer tantalizing glimpses of this manipulation. Frames disappear, voices cut mid-sentence, and shadows flicker in the corners, hinting at a hand working tirelessly to distort reality. Every erased clip, every missing moment, acts as a barrier, pushing viewers deeper into doubt. What was lost in these edits? What truths are being buried beneath layers of digital white noise? The deliberate confusion breeds a claustrophobic tension, where trust in record and memory begins to erode, leaving only suspicion and dread in its wake. Psychologically, this dissonance what if the chaos, the tangled web of fragments, the jarring contradictions, the endless noise, is not random at all? What if beneath the surface, a hidden rhythm pulses, a secret heartbeat concealed within the static? In the overwhelming jumble of data, voices, and vanished posts, strange patterns begin to flicker, syncopated, coded, impossible to ignore. They emerge like ghosts in the machine, a whispered logic lurking behind the madness, inviting those who listen close enough to descend into the labyrinth. Here, signal and noise entwine, indistinguishable, and the desperate urge to decode these patterns becomes a madness that consumes from within, a hunger to find meaning where none should exist. Deep dives into YouTube comment threads reveal recurring sequences, numbers that reappear like spectral fingerprints, cryptic linguistic anomalies twisting language into new, unsettling forms. Reddit metaposts dissect the patterns, weaving connections others dismiss as coincidence, while Twitter researchers piece together scattered fragments, creating fragile webs of meaning from digital dust. Each discovery sparks a faint glow in the dark, but it also draws unwanted attention, threads unraveling, accounts erased, evidence erased as if someone is determined to snuff out these signals before they are understood. Leaked and suppressed reports tell of investigations abruptly halted, documents redacted, and leads buried deep beneath layers of secrecy once these patterns emerged. Authorities branded the pursuit too dangerous, a code that must remain unbroken, a truth too fragile to see the light. The very act of uncovering these sequences seems to provoke a response: digital blackouts at critical moments, sudden disappearances of online presences, and wiped histories, leaving nothing behind but a haunting void. Psychologically, the line blurs. Are these patterns truly the work of an unseen intelligence, a cryptic message from an unknown force manipulating the threads of reality? Or are they born from a collective hallucination, a shared descent into grief and paranoia that twists perception and meaning? The patterns become a mirror, reflecting the fractured minds of those who seek them, a puzzle that refuses to be solved and yet cannot be ignored. In this fragile, shifting space, obsession becomes both curse and sanctuary. The thin line between seeking truth and losing oneself dissolves, and the act of chasing these patterns becomes the only escape from the oppressive silence that threatens to swallow everything whole. To see the patterns is to be caught, forever tethered to a maddening dance where every answer births new questions, and every silence hums with the sound of secrets waiting to be spoken. Ere the fabric of reality seemed to tear. Users speak of shadowy figures, inexplicable phenomena entwined with the cryptic Wishdom lore, tales so strange they teeter on the edge of madness. These posts carry a desperate urgency, a need to be heard before silence swallows them whole. Yet, many vanish, deleted or buried, as if a force is systematically wiping clean the traces of these witnesses before their stories can take root. Behind closed doors, declassified interrogation transcripts hint at something darker, covert operations not just to silence but to erase. Witnesses disappear without a trace, removed from existence as though they never breathed the air. The transcripts reveal chilling conversations where questions are met with cold denial, and names are struck through with redacted ink, leaving only shadows of truth. It is a web of suppression that extends beyond the surface, a machinery of forgetting designed to snuff out those who see too much. FOIA requests uncover lists, names aligned with events tied to Wishdom's mysteries, missing persons whose disappearances were never explained, their fates buried beneath layers of bureaucracy and denial. These gaps in the public record scream of deliberate obfuscation, raising the haunting question: how many more have been erased? How many stories will never be told? The psychological weight here is suffocating. Is this trauma so deep that memory itself fractures, turning witnesses into silent voids? Or is it a forced silence, a coercion that bends reality to forget? The void left behind feeds the obsession that no longer feels like choice but a curse, an unbearable hunger for answers that only deepens the silence. In this desolation, grief becomes a ghost, trailing the seeker with relentless persistence, whispering that to know too much is to be lost between shadows, forever tethered to the silent witnesses who cannot speak. The stories refuse to die. They linger, like shadows cast long after the source has vanished, weaving into the fabric of the mind and reality itself. These are not mere tales told and forgotten, but living echoes, persistent murmurs that seep into dreams, distort memories, and blur the fragile line between watcher and haunted. As the digital landscape shifts and fractures, new whispers of Wishdom creep into the shadows of unexpected corners. Tweets, encrypted posts, forgotten forums, signaling the story's dark resurgence, a virus spreading beneath the surface of everyday life. Archive.org becomes a cryptic graveyard where remnants of erased content flicker like ghostly footprints, digital palimpsests layered with scars from systematic erasure. Each wiped page, each vanished video is a reminder that someone, somewhere, fights to keep these echoes alive, or perhaps, to bury them forever. The more they are suppressed, the louder they grow, spiraling into a collective obsession that crosses time and technology, passed silently from one mind to another, a chain of unresolved grief and fragmented knowledge. What if this obsession is not just a story but a contagion? Psychological whispers suggest a shared trauma, a psychic wound bleeding through generations, infecting the watchers as much as the told. The boundaries between fact and fiction erode, and paranoia takes root. Now, it is no longer just the stories that are fractured, but the self. What parts of our memories are real? How much of the reality we navigate is shaped by these whispered shadows? Are we living within the story without knowing it? In this final moment, the terror is quiet but relentless. It settles beneath the skin, a persistent echo of loss that never fades, a whispered reminder that some knowledge changes everything, haunting, unyielding, eternal. The Wishdom stories are not behind us, they are inside us, and the echo we carry is the true legacy, an unending call that pulls us deeper into the dark.